So now it's being recorded. You'll hear the audio and all that other stuff. What I'm going to do now is, since the screen is shared, you're only going to see this screen and this little thing about that size. What I actually do the notes on, and these are the things that you're going to be seeing. I can minimize this so it's kind of out of the way and move it kind of to where I want to. But what I use is something called OneNote. And let's see if it's in here. Or is it Open Notes? I forget what it's called. I got rid of it. I don't know why I didn't come up. So when you see it at home, and I can even, these guys sometimes annoy me, so I can minimize even that. And that this is what we're going to see. And I can actually work full screen in here. I have access to all the pens and everything that I need. So while it's a little bit cumbersome, I know it's a smallish screen. Sometimes I will use the boards, but generally I want this to be the whole place where all the notes are, so you have complete access to them throughout the entire semester. Are there any questions?
You said these are all YouTube.
Yeah, you can, at the end of each class, I will go into Blackboard and put the URLs for where everything is located. So you'll be able to click on it. I'll put hyperlinks to them inside of this course inside of Blackboard. I'll probably have a link called Lessons. You click on Lessons and it will bring them all up. Are there any questions? I'm going to go into Alex myself. Now, when you first log into there, what it's going to try to do is it's going to have you take an assessment test to give you an idea of what you're doing, how you're doing. But after you get through all the assessments, it brings you to the course, and then you'll see the assignments listed. But you have to get through the assessments first. So you can see the first homework involves these sections. And I'll put a different due date than that. These due dates are bogus right now. This is just a template where the end of the semester was put up for every due date, but I'll change that. Generally speaking, you'll have about a week to do the homework. So if we do a subject like tonight, for example, that material will be due on Thursday of next week. So you can ask questions for it on Tuesday. Now, this is the homework and it's got too much stuff in there too, but it also allows me to show you, we're sort of reminding you of things that you've had in the past. And that's what I think the first chapter is pretty much like that. So the way I do these things, say I want this problem here and I want it for our class. If I come into here, you're like, I can't see that, right? So I can go, now you can. So this brings us to the first thing. Do you remember what an exponent is? What is it?
Same number multiplied by itself.
Yes, it's same number, like, so here, you have 9 times itself, a total of 4 9s are up there. There's a short way of writing it. What is it? 9 to the 4th power. Exactly right. They didn't leave me a marker, so I gotta get my pen. So if you watch the videos, especially if you're using it for study purposes, you'll see me come up to the board and stuff, except you'll see that picture of me, right? But this is generally what you'll see. You'll see whatever I write. So you see a total of 4 9s. We will rewrite this. That 4 up there is the exponent, isn't it? Anybody know what this one's called? The base, that's right. Base and the exponent. So I'll also demonstrate for you when you go to take this homework. When we go in here, let me come back to it. Where's the actual homework itself? Right here. There are a variety of things that you can see. Over here is this little pad that helps you. So if I click this guy right here like this, I can put a 9 and I can hit my right arrow key and hit the 4 like that. Follow me? And then you go to check yourself. Now, if you get it wrong, it will let you retry. You guys with me? So this is sort of a reversal. You do for me, tell me what this number turns out to be after you evaluate it. Actually, I did that wrong. So I know you can probably do it by hand. How many 5s will appear, for example? 3 of them will appear, that's right. So use by hand or use a calculator, get that machine to tell you what this number is. I know you can do it, but let's make sure you can do it on your calculator. If you have only a cell phone with you today, you can turn them sideways and your calculator will turn into a scientific calculator. Go to a calculator program on your machine or use a calculator. Oh, you want one of the buttons? But exactly the one I talked about. I think I don't have a calculator on my machine anymore, otherwise I would demonstrate this for you on my phone because once I put it in my calculator, I deleted whatever was on there. But did you get your calculator program?
Yeah.
So turn to the side. Oh, yours doesn't have it. Turn right here. You choose from a menu, maybe the type of calculator you have. Your word.
No, it's all about. Like the screen,
But that,
like the little lock symbol.
yeah, unlock your screen so it will rotate. I think you got your screen off of rotate. Yep, you got it right. Take your screen off rotate. Do you get it? Down, see the down? Do you have an iPhone? Okay, so you should be able to down. And then where's that lock screen? If you don't mind.
Slide up in the top right.
Slide down from the top right. You see it? No, that just took you right back. Where's the log screen?
Which screen is the last screen?
Right.
On your phone. All right, so
There we go. That's better.
that one.
That's a log. Okay.
That's the screen.
Now you grab your calculator, open it back up. Now turn it sideways. All right, so has everybody by now been able to tell me what this number actually equals?
120.
And your machine told you it? Good, 125, right. Now, this notation, they use it from time to time in this course with the x's, but you should keep in mind this is an algebra course. That means that at some point in this class, we're going to use letters like x to represent numbers. So I prefer not to use it as a multiplication symbol. So what I would prefer, what is more normal as you get higher up into your math classes, is to rewrite it like this. Are you familiar with the dot notation for multiplication? So I'll generally prefer dots over x's for multiplication purposes. And so you all got 125? Any questions about this? Keep on the wrong spot. So this one here, all it would be requiring from you is this. They don't require anything else. And you get a little thing that tells you, good. Some of your scientific calculators will allow you to put this into the machine directly as it is. Depending on the calculator you have. And so this is really the stuff we're going to be concentrating on in this section here. You'll notice it has a series of mixed operations, plus, times, subtraction, and division. What we're going to do is develop something called the order of operations. You almost certainly have heard of it. In fact, you probably heard of the acronym as PEMDAS. It's an acronym that is, if used incorrectly, can yield incorrect results. Sorry about this. Yeah, it doesn't work well if you don't have any volume. So for the first so many minutes of the video you watch, it's going to be silent. But anyways, this is the meat of the video anyway. Anybody know PEMDAS? Anybody have heard of that term? What does it mean? Well, that's the phrase you use to remember. So please excuse my dear aunt, their parentheses, right? So let's write them up. Let's write them up here while we're thinking of PEMDAS, but you gotta watch. It can be scary. You don't see how it could possibly be scary, but I will show you how. So we have this. I usually do it this way. What's that P stand for? Now parentheses win over anything because parentheses are the things that the person who is writing puts in there. Tell you this is the part to do first. So there's no question about that part. But the rest of them, they have natural orders that are hierarchical in nature. What's that E stand for? Exponents. What's the M? Right. How about our next guy? And then the A. And. Correct. All right, let's use that to work this problem here. So according to this, what portions of the problem should I do first? And here, if you look, what's the highest order of operations that is available on multiplication size, right? So what we could do is something like this. This is usually the way I write these problems. I have 3 times 7 equals what? 10. 3 times 7. 21. You know how often I see stuff like that? Where they add instead of multiply. So you got 21. Now, you may not know this, but you can do the division at the exact same time because between them is a lower order operation separating them. So if you want to, you can choose to do division right now. What is 25 divided by 5? And now I'm left with just addition and subtraction. How do you work it? How do you finish this off then? What do we do next?
4 plus 21.
Was 21. 25. It's fine. So a lot of times I might even do this to indicate the part that I'm working. Now, these are really simple at the beginning. They get more complicated later, as you can imagine. So this ends up with 20. So that's the way it's supposed to operate. Go with the highest order first and work your way down. Let's check our answers. Does not take enter for that, does not do enter. All right, so what they'll have then for the first day, you'll have a ton of different order of operations problems. It's obviously to practice, because while you've probably had them in the past, let me bypass that for a second. I'm gonna make my own up. How much you get for that? Try this one by hand instead of just letting the calculator. There'll be 2 competing answers when all is said and done. Anyone else think together? Anybody else? Is it? There's two competing answers here. One is 54 and one is 6. 54 is the correct answer. The PEMDAS that's presented to you, if you remember just the words, the letters PEMDAS, in that order, you may think that multiplication is done before division. Which is what people do. That addition is before subtraction. The reality of the situation is that multiplication and division are opposites of each other, inverses of each other, if you will. They have exactly the same authority, I guess. I didn't use that word. Same with addition and subtraction. So this thing that we have up here, this one, it comes with a little more information. While parentheses and exponents are truly the 1 and 2, this here is 3. This here is 4. I have tried to fix this picture so it's something that you know that will work. It goes like this. You see what I did? That's an M and a D. That's an A and an S. This way you can't possibly pick one to be more important than the other one. Of course, I can't say the word now. Can't say doesn't matter. Forget now. I can't give it any sort of a sound. So that is specifically designed, like this problem I've used millions of times to point out the flaw of PEMDAS, at least if you're going to use it in a way that you're trying to remember, if you're trying to remember an acronym that you had years ago and some details fell out. So when we should do the division first. So the part that I'm going to do first is this. 72 divided by 4 turns out to be 18. So you see, each step that I do it cleans up the thing. The thing gets smaller as I go, but I'm only doing one step at a time. And now I can do the 18 times 3. If you take the same problem and you do this, 4 times 3. Say I have it this way now. Now, what I have to do it is I have to do the multiplication first. Understand me? Hearing silence, that was just not. Do you understand that in this one now, we do multiplication first? Because it comes first. So the idea is this. When you come up upon these symbols that are of equal power, you simply go from left to right. So when you see multiplication and division back to back, you go left to right. Just the way we read. Same with addition and subtraction. If you come back to back with them, left to right. So in this one, we're going to do the multiplication first. Anybody know that off the top of their head? 280. No, it's 288. Yeah. And I'll remind you of a trick. I know that this is going to be a whole number because if you take the digits for 288, 2 plus 8 plus 8, that's 18. Did you know that if 3 goes into 18, it's guaranteed to go into 288? Did you know that? So you add up the digits, and if 3 goes into that number, it works for 9 too. If 3 goes into that number, then it automatically goes into the original number. So you probably will do this on your calculator, but I can guarantee you it's going to be a whole number. My guess is something like 96. It's obviously a different answer than before. So as you go through the homework, you're just going to be, I'd like to say this about the homework assignments is, as you go through them, the problems will seem more difficult, but they're not more difficult by nature, they're more complicated. That's different than being more difficult. There's another more steps. But as long as you follow the PEMDAS, at least the way that I've described it to you, You should be good. Let's see how hard these things get. Oh, I didn't even do that one. That one was meant to be done. And there's also another reason for grabbing these problems. It's to show you some of the notation that you may be uncomfortable with. So now just having PEMDAS at your disposal right now, look at this thing that's on the screen. Can you tell me the first thing that you will do when attacking this problem?
15 minus 6.
15 minus 6, why? It's parentheses, but, there's brackets out there. Brackets also count as parentheses. So it's better instead of parentheses, it's better to call it grouping symbols. Or parentheses and brackets, whatever, I don't care. Parentheses and brackets are the same, but you're right. That means if you look to the brackets, that's where you're gonna start looking over here at the brackets, because this order of operation, this division, is lower than that stuff. I look over here, when I look in here, I look at this expression in here and I go, this is the part that has to be done first. Now, as I do it, I'm not gonna do what you said. I am going to do just that portion first. Well, watch what I do as I write down my steps. 15 minus 6 is indeed 9. I don't like this, that symbol that they use, but. Make note of what I did. The parentheses, since I have used them up, I've dropped them. Now they're not in the way anymore. I passed through first step 1. Now we move on to step 2. Now, as long as I got stuff to do in the brackets, I'm not done with it. I have to finish every last thing inside of the brackets before I walk away from them. Can you tell me what the next step we're going to do is? 9 times 4. So my first step was just this portion. Now my next step is just this portion right here. That's 36. Everything else is copied down. Remember, brackets are the same as parentheses. Am I finished off with those brackets yet? Can I walk away from them? I've got one more thing to do inside of them. 36 minus 15 is what? 21. And make note, what did I do with those brackets? So if you keep them around, they're just some confusion. And notice too, do you notice how the problem as I'm doing it generally gets smaller and smaller and smaller until we get it to a trivial step, which is the last one. Choose something simple like this. And so we'll get a 7. Does it help when I do that? That help you? Yeah, whatever it helps. Any questions? You see, I walk around a lot. These ones, since they're early, I've been kind of just, I haven't really doing a lot of looking. But I'll do more as problems become evidence. And I hope you do the problems too. Like the next one, I'm going to give you one try, a few minutes to try. Call me over when you think you got it. Okay. So I'll go in here, let me put my answer in. That was a 7. All right, the next one I saw had an exponent in it, so I like the looks of it. When you think you've got it, let me know. I want to check to see your work. What's our highest order right now, right off the bat, what's the highest order? Okay. Give the exponent. Exponent to the highest. What do you? Okay, so I mentioned the highest order of operation was exponent. Yep. The highest order of operation was the exponent, so I should do 2 to the 4th power first. We all agree on that. 2 to the 4th power is done first. 2 to the 4th, some people will write 8 and then realize they made a mistake. Because it's not 8, is it? 16. So you do this next, 32 plus 32 divided by 16. So I have this. That's the only part I did. Now stop before you get excited and write the next thing down. A lot of people wrote down, well, there's not a lot, but many people wrote down 64 divided by 16. If you do that, what if they violated it? Here, if I write this 64 divided by 16, what have they done first? Addition, but what should have been done first? That. So we have, this is the next part on the list. 32 plus 2. You get 34 from that. Are we good? Let me see how crazy these things get. Okay, yeah, sweet. This is another one for you to try. I'll do just like I did. Come around and check. Or didn't think about it. Oh, just last time. Let's do it. I do too. Did you get it picked up? Yeah. It's not wrong, so you don't need that. Bring down everything. Three in a second now. The. One seven minus three. Shade. Okay. Yeah, parentheses and brackets together, they seem to cause people all sorts of problems. So in this one, once again, the brackets say, look here first, but inside of the brackets, the parentheses are telling you, do the 7 minus 3 first. And I'll reiterate the things that I do these problems. Here, you may not have remembered, but there's actually a multiplication symbol between the 6 and the brackets. Do you remember that? You just put a number right up against the bracket. There's technically a multiplication symbol there. Okay? Reminding you if you had forgotten that. The part I should do first is right in here. Now watch. Once I do 7 minus 3, I'm going to drop the parentheses so that they're not going to keep being around confusing me what I should be doing. Now, can you tell me what I should do next? Absolutely. The exponent, 4 to the second power, if I'm still within the brackets. Good. Then what next? It's 51 minus 16, that's gonna be 5. Now I'm gonna drop the brackets because I completed them now. 6 times 35, you can do it by hand, calculator, or whatever. Let's see how this turns out. I might change something though. That you need somebody after. Linux. Let me know when you think you got it. Except I don't know what you did there.
What are you doing? Why are you doing 8 times 64? You didn't finish the parentheses, the brackets, I mean, finishing what's in there first, so. Let your calculator help you on that if you want. Not cool. You should never. Square root of 64. Well, looks like I got everybody on this one. Subtract 60. Well, let's see where you go next.
Now, first of all, let's talk about what part should have been done first.
Parentheses 5 plus 3.
5 plus 3 should have been the very first thing you do. Now, this is probably, I know why I chose this, not this 5 plus 3. I'm putting a dot there to remind myself that that 3 is multiplied to something. That means you cannot possibly do that 5 plus 3. Do you understand? Because no matter what, I have to do that 3 times something before I ever add it to 5. So in here, I'm not going to do exponents yet. 5 plus 3 is 8. So I have 8 to the second power. What would be the next thing you do? What does the next computation that you'll do? Nope. Exponents inside of it, right? I gotta do the exponent first. By now, we've done 2 to the 4th a couple times. I myself with the multiplication. 2 to the 4th is 16. I'll do this one too, since they're separated, I can do this one at the same time. What's my next step?
16 divided by 8.
16 divided by 8.
2. 62. This, I did this next.
And we're gonna get 2 inside of there. 16 divided by 8 is 2. So for sure, we're getting there. I'll finish off the parentheses now with negative 62. Now, if you get stuck, I think, let your calculator help you with this part. How you can P minus 64 in your calculator, that will tell you it's negative 62. I'm not sure what I want to do with my next step here, because this is never written. What I'm going to write is never something that's not written among math professors and such. So we have 62. So we never write that. You see how it's got like the multiplication and the subtraction right next to each other? Now you probably realize that means you're multiplying by a negative number, but we won't drop the parentheses around it just because we want to hold that negative in it. Now this is a problem of enormous complexity to students, because I keep saying do parentheses first, but if a single solitary number is in the parentheses like this, there's nothing to do in there. You understand? The parentheses are just a convention among math people to separate the multiplication dots from the subtractive dot. You understand? Or the negative dot, the negative mark. So with that being said, what do you think you would do next?
3 to the.
That's right, you do 3 times negative 62. Do you remember what happens if I take a positive number times a negative one?
Negative.
You get a negative. Remember that? Positive times a negative is negative. So 3 times 62 is negative 186. We're gonna get into this in more detail as we go, but the way we're actually going to evaluate this problem is this. I'm gonna look at the two numbers that are up there, the 5 and the -186. Which one of these numbers is farther away from 0? The negative. So in a sense, that's more negative, but the other one is positive. All right, understand? So when I add them together, do you understand when you get a negative number? And how you get that negative number is the following. We're gonna do much more with negative, but I thought I would throw this up there. To see what you have remembered. The way we're actually going to evaluate this last step is we're going to take the more negative number minus the less positive one. That. And for -1. You were plugged. Oh, it probably because I stole the thing, although usually I can do that. I wanted to show. I can usually use the hovergram, I think. I think it's in there, isn't it? Is that me, hovercam? Let's see if it'll let me do it now. Devil. Usually I can do them both at the same time. The reason why I wanted to do it is I wanted to show you how to put it into your calculator. So you can, I'll go ahead and I'll write it up there and you see if you can get your calculator to do it. Usually I'm able to, I probably have to disconnect the camera for a second to do this, but let's make sure you can get your machine to do it as well. So your machine doesn't have brackets and parentheses. You have to use parentheses for everything. Understand? So you'll have to, these will all be parentheses here. Your calculator won't require you to put this dot or anything. The standard calculator that you get in your cell phone will not work. Mostly because of the exponents. It doesn't have exponents like that. Let's go ahead and put it in the way we should. 5. What was the 16 one? That was 2 to the 4th.
Yeah.
Now that's actually not the way it will probably look. That will actually look something like this. Your calculator may do a slash here instead of that symbol. Try typing that and see if you get the answer in one shot. Make sure you're in your scientific mode. Get it? Good. You probably, at one time or another, typed things in the comment section. Maybe you type something like THEY. But you forget the apostrophe or something like that, you type it there, THE on there, or Jack. Somebody writes the correction. Several people after that person says, oh, grammar Nazi. Don't they? Yeah, exactly. Well, guess what? that level of detail is required to do math. I'm sorry to say, I'm like that all the time in this class. I don't go online, I'm saying, but I have to be like that. It's no different than years ago, I took karate, and if you took any martial art, every move you do, every stance you're in, they come around and fix every piece of you until you're exactly right. They can shake you and stuff. So that's the whole thing. If we know about these things in a slow fashion, very, very step by step, we may not have to worry about the technicalities because we will handle them in the way. Does that make sense to you? 100%. So I think what I've done, I've done a complex enough collection of problems for you to do section 1.2 homework. So you can go in there after you do the, what do they call that thing? You'll be forced to suffer through an initial evaluation of your capabilities. After you get through it, you will then be allowed to do the assignments. So go ahead and start the homework. I'll change the due dates and all that this weekend. Stay for just a second. I'll show you what I do at the end of class. So here's what I do. I take file, I export the notes to PDF. So it keeps it in the documents. You don't need to know that portion of it. It keeps it in the document section. But then I have to check here. When I stop this, I can stop this here, stop like so.